Great. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. We're going to get started in just a few moments. We're just going to give participants an opportunity to join. All right, looks like people are starting to come on in, so just give it a few more moments. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's webinar on the Hi Marley Insurance Cloud coaching capabilities, empowering carrier employees and delighting customers. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Allison Kafka, Principal Product Marketing Manager at Hi Marley. I'll be moderating today's session. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. All of your questions can be submitted in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering those at the end of the presentation, the last 10 minutes or so. If we don't get to your question, someone from our team will be sure to follow up. And this webinar is being recorded, so this will be made available to all attendees shortly after we conclude. If you have to drop early or want to share it with your team members after the fact, you will get the recording link. And so without further ado, I want to introduce our featured speakers for today. So first up, we have Mark Snyder, who describes himself as a recovering claims adjuster, leader, and consultant with 38 years of P&C insurance industry experience. Mark's current role with Hi Marley affords him the opportunity to act as claims subject matter expert for our staff and clients. He has expertise in claims performance management, program design, InsurTech operationalization, claims strategic transformation, project management, and training development and delivery. But that's not all. In addition, Mark has deep claims technical handling, management, and auditing knowledge and skills across all major lines of business and select specialty lines. Mark previously held claims leadership positions with Ohio Casualty, Liberty Mutual, Athenium Analytics, and Aon. So thank you, Mark, for being here today. Next from Hi Marley is Jackie Booth, who is a seasoned leader with a passion for tenacious problem solving and the cultivation of high performing and high retention teams. Jackie is currently the VP of Product at Hi Marley, leading a growing team responsible for transforming intelligent insurance communication. And last but not least, Lori Pond is joining us from the Auto Club Group. Thank you so much, Lori, for being here today. Lori has over 20 plus years of insurance industry experience. She's a veteran with deep experience creating a holistic vision and roadmap to deliver seamless service. She led the build, implementation, and organizational change management for core platforms and integrations across ecosystems. In her current role as insurance claims innovation leader at ACG, she oversees governance of the claims tech roadmap, managing large-scale enterprise software solutions to deliver best-in-class products. So thank you to all of our speakers for being here today. We're super excited to kick things off. So to begin with a little bit of insurance industry grounding, I want to kick it over to Mark. Can you touch on a little bit about the current state of today's insurance industry and talk to us more about your experience as both an adjuster and a supervisor?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that prompt, Allison. You know, when we look at it from a 100,000 foot view, it really kind of looks a little bit dismaying when we think about 50% of our workforce will retire in not too near distant future. Majority of adjustment professionals are 55 and up. It is an incredibly stressful job. 83% of adjusters leave within 3 years because it's an incredibly stressful job, speaking from experience. P&C insurers are, a lot of them, the majority are understaffed. And that's all pretty scary when you think about research that shows that almost half of customer 5-star experiences are driven by adjuster attitude and approach. So if you put all this together and you go, oh, wow, and then you get to that last one, you go, oh boy, you can see the storm clouds, you know, rising up ahead, and it looks like everybody's going to get wet. So there's been, you know, so we know there's been unprecedented burnout, turnover, early retirement. Adjusters and supervisors become easily overwhelmed. And so the bottom line is we really need to kind of proactively address this with better tools, processes, and rules of the road. And what I mean by that is, so often we think we're doing claims adjusters and supervisors a favor by giving them new solutions, when all we've really done is erect additional barriers to make their lives a little bit harder. So to effectively service customers, we need to empower them, take barriers away, and with that, knowing that claims people are really wise and skeptical. When new solutions and processes are introduced, they know pretty quickly whether it's going to be something that's going to hurt them or help them, and whether they got to be something that they look at like flavor of the day, or wow, this is something that really helps. One thing we didn't talk about on this slide is, the world's becoming an angrier place. So not only do we have 46% of 5-star experiences driven by adjuster attitude and approach, sometimes consumers enter the claims process with an adversarial mindset. And with the way our world works today and things are all a little bit angrier, that can add gas to the fire and make things a little bit worse. So what about these adjusters and supervisors, and how challenging are those rules, or are their roles? Sounds pretty simple, right? It's like, hey, I complete a series of tasks, I go get stuff, I analyze it, and I make decisions. Sounds like a pretty easy job, right? Not so much. Speaking from personal experience, adjusting and supervising are probably two of the most fast-paced, stressful, sometimes thankless jobs out there. That said, I don't want to be doom and gloom. It is incredibly rewarding when you can help somebody standing in their front yard who's just been burned out of their home, and they don't know where they're going to go. They don't know what they're going to eat for dinner because their food was in the refrigerator, which is now gone, and they don't have any clothes, and being able to put them in a place that they're safe. And that's a really rewarding feeling. Trust me, I've been there. But when you think about it, what makes it so tough? Challenging conversations and unrealistic expectations from insureds, claimants, agents, supervisors. The missiles are coming from all directions. Worrying about meeting NPS and CSAT goals, worried about generating customer complaints, dealing with 100 new assignments a month, meeting cycle time goals, multiple claims admin and vendor point solutions that hinder ability to perform efficiently. I remember days when you'd have to work in 3 or 4 or 5 different claim systems and 3 or 4 different point systems. Not really efficient. Too many non-value added tasks due to these inefficient systems, processes, and workflows. And then the worry of audit, right? Always a punitive audit process hanging over people's heads, like they start behaving to get an audit score rather than to serve the customer. Now let's talk about the supervisors. Guess what? Same stuff that they're dealing with, only they're dealing with from the bottom up and the top down. Unclear and ambiguous best practice expectations. Not only do they need to manage files, but they need to manage people and performance. A lot of pressure on supervisors to become data analysts, to become people managers, to become file managers, and yet most supervisors became supervisors because they were great claims adjusters. And when it was time for supervisor training, they said, well, go over to HR, spend a half a day in that seminar, take some online courses, and you're going to be a great supervisor. When in reality, they default to the behavior that they're the most comfortable with, which is sitting in files, reviewing files, and offering tactical advice on a file-by-file basis. So, a lot of dynamics in play right here that are pretty impactful. You think about it, and then you think about the customer. The claims moment of truth is a destination that most folks rarely show up at, and they rarely think about. But when they do arrive, they do so not knowing really what to expect in the process. And yet, in that process, sometimes we are assuming that they know what's going to go on, and we don't properly set expectations. We don't properly lay it out and really kind of tell people what it's going to go like, how we're going to respond, and what the end result is going to be. To kind of roll it all up, it's the role of the adjuster to provide that empathetic support in a timely fashion, facilitate these lovable experiences. But as an industry, we keep putting barriers in the way. So let's talk about ways that we can actually create that kind of lovable experience instead of hindering it. Thanks, Allison. Sorry for the rant, but
yeah, no, thank you for
my
sharing
old claim stuff coming through.
And no, it's all good information. It's like you said, it's not all doom and gloom, but adjusters and supervisors do have challenging roles, within the industry and the shifting dynamics and all that. So, Lori, as you're listening to Mark, how are you reacting to this from your perspective as a claims strategy and innovation leader at ACG? Is there any other information you can kind of shed light upon on this topic?
Well, I identify with many of the challenges that Mark has shared. And I think our North Star when we put innovation in place is working our way back from the customer, and that's our internal customer, that's our external customer. What can we do to alleviate friction? How can we make the process and their experience, whether it be our customer, external customer, internal customer, more inspiring? And one of the ways that we do that is to really involve our team in our innovation processes. So we're very involved with Hi Marley in raising our hand to alpha and beta test. And we try to share thought leadership and work as a team. Marley's been great about involving us in design thinking sessions. And so when the tech is delivered in a reimagined way, it always has the voice of the customer as that underlying foundation. And in many instances, our customer success manager, the entire Marley team, the product team, has us involved in helping ideate out what a truly frictionless experience looks like. And I can really relate to what Mark shared about all of the different things that are coming at me. I'm working from a new environment. We're still at ACG working almost primarily from the home setting, and there are a lot of different stressors at home. So we try to provide our adjusters with tools like Hi Marley. That it's a great way to avoid phone tag. It's a great way to communicate that's on both a convenience for the customer, convenience for you. So you take the phone tag piece out of it. The cell phone's very ubiquitous. So you have a communication tool that really resonates with our customers. And the WIFM for our adjusters and our customers is that convenience, the speed of contact. We're seeing it in our CSAT measurements, and our adjusters ultimately are going, and our contact center team members and our community of users at ACG are going to tell us whether they like the tech or whether they don't like the tech. And the great thing about Marley is it's so convenient. We have a mobile platform, we have a desktop platform, and we have different tools that help us make sure that we're engaging in an impactful way. And that really resonates with our end users. And to Mark's point, we have a lot of different things on our desktop pinging at us, a lot of different point solutions. We have 7 different claim systems at ACG. So one of the things that we try to do is when we bring in new tech, make sure that you can balance it amidst your other tools and resources. And the great thing about Hi Marley is it's helped simplify the process, speed the process, and improve communication, which are all drivers to a better experience for both our adjusting contact center community and our customer.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lori. So I want to pivot slightly now and turn to you, Jackie. When you're hearing Mark and Lori, how are you thinking about what they're saying as a product leader at Hi Marley?
Yeah, hearing Mark and Lori speak about the pain points for adjusters and supervisors, I have so much empathy for the stress and burden that sort of they carry. They are speaking to policyholders on their worst day. Mark spoke about someone's house just burned down. They don't have food. They don't have clothes. Their ability to be a person, be available, hear that person, and really be supportive for them through this journey, which is, really difficult for the policyholder, but then also, very stressful and hard for the supervisors and adjusters. As a product team and as a product leader, our job is really to understand these pain points, understand, what are the problems, what are the workflows, what is an adjuster doing every day, what does a supervisor do every day, and then how can we help? How can we think through product technology solutions to alleviate some of those pain points? How do we proactively intervene to help amplify the voice of a policyholder who's having trouble? How do we ensure or support the adjuster to provide that sympathetic support for that policyholder on their worst day? Make sure that both sides are lovable. At Hi Marley, we think about simple, lovable insurance. That's for both the adjuster, the supervisor, and the policyholder. We want to make this a better experience for adjusters and supervisors using Hi Marley, and by providing that asynchronous communication to policyholders, we hope that that is a lovable experience as well. And then, I said this, it's more than just being heard. It's about being listened to, right? So these supervisors and adjusters are talking to policyholders on their worst days. We want to make sure that they not only feel heard, but also listened to, and they're getting that reassurance and empathetic response, in a timely manner that makes them feel taken care of by Hi Marley. Yeah, I do want to also pause and thank Lori for being such a great thought partner in an industry as a product leader. For me, it is really important to make sure that what we're ideating, the problems, the solutions we're coming up with for the problems land for adjusters and supervisors. I don't want to stand on an island and develop all these features that aren't valuable, that aren't making a difference and seeing an impact on the lives of adjusters and adjusters and supervisors.
Thanks, Jackie. So it sounds like, you were alluding to the fact that Hi Marley has this mission to make insurance more livable. It isn't just for policyholders, it's also for the adjusters. So with that mission in mind, can you talk to us about Hi Marley's new coaching capabilities, kind of how they were developed, how they work in practice?
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to share more about our coaching capabilities. This is our, one first step, our initial set of coaching features that really leverage data and insights to empower, carrier employees with real-time notifications to improve the customer experience. Our initial package has sort of two main components to it. One is insights for every persona. So it's not about just providing the admin at a carrier, the data they need, which is obviously very important, but making sure that we're thinking about the insights and analytics and data that's needed for a supervisor, as well as what's needed for the adjuster. And those aren't necessarily the same thing. We want to make sure that we're enabling this adjuster to focus on what they need to do and give the supervisor more information around their team specifically so that they can drill in and understand those insights better. The second thing that will be part of our initial package is message intelligence. And I'm super excited about this as an infrastructure as well as what we've done with it already. The message intelligence engine that my team has built allows us to process messages and then run a variety of models against them to learn and gain more insights about what those messages say. That allows us to then create UI elements or workflows or notifications to then help the adjusters and the supervisors take action on what those messages say. Our first three models that we will be launching as part of this package elevate things like, hey, this person has negative sentiment, they're frustrated, they're having a bad experience. The second is a threat of litigation. Someone saying, hey, this is really hard for me. I'm struggling to do this. Should I bring a lawyer in? And it's not, and we're not saying like, our goal is really just to elevate that message, to amplify the voice of the customer, so that the adjuster and the supervisor who are great at their jobs can sort of engage with that customer to resolve that. The last model that we have as part of our initial message intelligence is a delays model. So this isn't, picking up sentiment that the user is frustrated by the process or delays in the process. Hey, I've called 3 times. I still haven't heard anything. What's the status of my claim? And really just bubbling that up to the top again, so adjusters can take action.
All right. So with that, we want to show you how this works real time.
Yeah, I'm excited to do a demo to show some of these features in our product. Before I jump over to our product, I do want to do some grounding for those of you who are new to Hi Marley, give you a sense of what you might see. So Hi Marley is a purpose-built SMS platform for the insurance industry. I'm going to walk through our web application today that's used by adjusters, supervisors, and admins in the carrier organization. In addition to that web application, we do have a mobile app that's leveraged by field adjusters, and we have a robust set of APIs so that Hi Marley can be integrated into the various systems that both Mark and Lori spoke about before to create some seamless experience there. So I will share my screen to walk through these features live. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. So first, I'm going to talk through how an adjuster would use Hi Marley. So this is our landing page. As you come into Hi Marley, this is our new My Insights page. And there's a few elements I want to make sure I'm calling out here. First, we added this quote of the day. And the goal here is to really surface up conversations or messages from policyholders that show their appreciation for adjusters. We spoke about how this is a hard and a stressful job. We want to make sure we bring some of the positive impact that they're making on the lives of the policyholders into their day. Below, we also have 4 call to actions, with 4 sort of core metrics for that specific adjuster. You can jump right into your open conversations. You can look at unanswered opt-ins. So that would mean that one of your policyholders has opted into a conversation, but you the next step would be for you to respond to them and engage in that conversation. It looks like I have one open conversation that I'm waiting on the person to opt in. So the call to action there would be to jump into that chat and perhaps resend the welcome message, if that makes sense. And then the last metric we have is a Hi Marley specific conversation sentiment score. And it reflects the ratio of how many positive messages do you have versus negative messages do you have. And so it actually takes positive and subtracts negative. And so in general, you want that to be greater than 0. You want to make sure that the conversations you're having sort of have are more likely to be positive in their content than negative. So let's jump into the messages. So you can see here in my inbox, there are 2 messages that have our new needs attention badges. You can see that there's an indication here that this has a high likelihood the customer has a concern and requires your attention. This is our message intelligence engine. You can see that the message from me, it says, unfortunately, I'm very frustrated with the auto body shop. I keep calling and I don't hear back, and this is upsetting. Can you help? You see that we've sort of highlighted this message to make sure that it's at the top of the inbox for that adjuster. And so that supervisor has visibility to that message as well. It's a simple UI change, but the goal would be that we're able to amplify the voice of frustrated customers to make sure the adjuster can resolve that and prioritize that action. As soon as I respond to that message, the negative sentiment is resolved, and we can continue to help support that policyholder through their experience. One of the things I want to flag is negative sentiment and delays and threat of litigation. That's not just frustration towards the adjuster. It can be towards the overall experience. Like, for example, in this example, it's talking about the auto body shop. This is a good way to elevate any frustration or distress or that the policyholder is experiencing, so that the adjuster can help proactively resolve. Lori, I know your team was a great partner with us to help test out this feature in Alpha. I was curious if you had any sort of thoughts or feedback on the impact it made for your adjusters and supervisors.
First of all, I really want to thank Hi Marley for engaging us very early. We were really excited to be your Alpha partner to test this development, and we invited our adjusters into the design thinking sessions with the lead developer and the development team. And the beauty of it is we were all working together. It was in the stage where it was a seedling and it wasn't productionized. So we had the ability to really test drive it with about 80 of our adjusters. We started with a small group. We weren't getting a lot of negative sentiment, which is great. And then we widened our group, and we were really able to have some focused discussions on how adjusters were interacting with the technology. And the great thing that came out of it is, one, the adjusters really liked having that beacon. I need to go make a service recovery. And it could be, to your point, Jackie, you called out a really good point. It might not be that you're upset with the claim process. You may be having a bad day. You may have a delay in getting your car to the dealer. You may need extra hypercare, or you may just need an empathetic ear and one of our team members to come in and show support, build rapport. So one of the beautiful pieces is some of our adjusting community said, you know, it really put that at the top of my inbox. I was really, there was a call to action for me to take a look at this. Previously, you could be getting a lot of messages. When you could be on another call, you'd have some messages in your queue, but with this beacon and this badge level, message level notification, you're handling those first. And great feedback from our adjusters. And we were really able to work with your development team to make a few tweaks. And when it got into production, we had a subset of 80 team members out of, you know, adjusting community of over 1,000 that were able to explain it to their peers. They were early adopters. So it was just a great experience because we already knew it was a win, because 10% of our staff was in the alpha already giving us great feedback. And your development team could not have been better in terms of wanting to hear the constructive feedback, making changes very, very agilely. And we were able to test and validate. And we had several feedback sessions with Sean, your lead developer. And it was just such a positive experience. And I think the what's in it for me was really approached from an end customer perspective, from an adjusting perspective. And when we rolled it out, I really think we already had a groundswell of support, and it was so intuitive. We were able to develop our job aids on the very, very quickly because we were in the alpha. So it just really helped us with our organizational change management, but even better, having that call to action, using AI to help you at scale understand vulnerable claims or experiences that could disrupt a customer's frictionless experience. We want to deliver at that moment of truth. And this technology allows our supervisors insight. So if I'm off as the adjuster and my supervisor's watching my threads and see something that needs immediate expedited response, I have that level of insight and transparency, and we're getting great feedback from our staff. So we love the new negative sentiment tool. It's such a great benefit.
Great. That's so valuable to hear. You know, at the end of the day, I said this earlier, but we build solutions to the problems we hear, but we also want to validate that the solutions we're building are working, that they resonate with the adjusters, that they're making an impact for the carriers we partner with. So it's always great to hear that. And again, we're here to get feedback, because at the end of the day, you know, as a product team, as a product person, we're here to understand the pain points, to dig in, to really make sure our solutions are driving value and making an impact for the lives of the carrier employees, as well as for the policyholders. The next thing I want to jump in is sort of change the lens from the adjuster within Hi Marley to the supervisor within Hi Marley. You know, I'll speak to message intelligence. One of the feedback we got from the alpha that we were able to implement is making sure that these negative sentiment messages bubble up to the top of the inbox. And so for our launch of coaching, you know, all messages with negative sentiment flags that haven't been responded to, they will bubble up to the top of the inbox for both the supervisors and the adjusters, so that, you know, again, we're amplifying the voice, we're creating that beacon for people to see that call to action. The other thing that's part of coaching for supervisors is the new My Team dashboard. And this is a specific view of data for folks on a supervisor's team. So it's specific for that supervisor. So in this example, you would see, you know, folks that are on teams or groups of mine within. And so I'd love to walk through this data and understand and talk through how, as a supervisor, this data can become actionable. So we have three sort of core metrics at the top: total new cases, unanswered opt-ins. So again, we've found from talking with carriers that this is a primary call to action. Somebody has opted in, said, hey, I'm interested in engaging with my adjuster via text message. Let's make sure as an adjuster, we're initiating that, or continuing that conversation and engaging with that policyholder. And then sentiment score. I spoke about this quickly earlier, but it's about making sure that we're providing positive experiences. And here, it's just about making sure that we're creating positive experiences as much as it's about reducing negative experiences, which is why this metric isn't just, how many negative messages that person have. It's about making sure we have both, and sort of moving towards positive and lovable experiences as well. We have data around sort of our new cases. So this would be how many cases, this would be for new cases within this week period. You can immediately see sort of how many are opted in, how many are awaiting a response, and sort of how many are pending opt-in. This is our test data. So, I would expect it might look a little different live for a carrier. We also have a first contact less than 24 hours. So again, coming back to response rates, if someone's opting into texting through Hi Marley, we want to make sure we're providing that good experience. And so this is a SLA we've heard from customers over and over again about making sure that we're sort of setting a good example for first contact is less than 24 hours. And so that's sort of a primary thing. You can see how your team specifically is doing on that metric over time. And then we get into sort of a more table form, and I think that there's a lot of value here. So I'm going to speak at a high level. I probably won't go through every column, but the general goal here is how are all my groups doing? How are individual groups I have? So, in this example, I have groups by regions here. And then how are individual adjusters on my team doing? And this allows me to evaluate this pretty quickly, understand some core metrics for my team, and then drill in and take action as it makes sense. Again, unanswered opt-ins, a primary call to action to sort of start initiating that conversation, taking a look at how we're doing from a first contact perspective. And so you can see that as a median time as well. This allows me to both say, hey, it looks like Brennan is doing a really great job. His first contact less than 24 hours is 100%. Let's learn more about what Brennan is doing and amplify his experience and really lean in on him as a mentor for other adjusters, as well as saying, oh, hey, it looks like Matt here, hasn't responded to his messages within 24 hours. Let me try to better understand what's Matt doing and how he's leveraging the tool and how I can help assist. The second bucket is more about the conversation, right? So the first part is about new cases and initiating those new cases. The second section is about the conversation itself. So how is the sentiment of the conversations that are happening? This view sort of looks at, what percentages of messages are positive versus neutral versus mixed versus negative. And so you can get a sense of sort of how your conversation health from a sentiment perspective is over time, with that score sort of overlay as well to understand how that trends. So you can be working towards having, more and more positive conversations. And then the same views, but with new data. So again, you can drill down into this data at a group level, understand, how many messages are being sent, what the conversation sentiment score is for those, and then the individual message response times for both the customer and the operator. And then you can drill into the specific operator. So again, it's a priming, a coaching opportunity where you can say, man, Andy's conversation sentiment score is really great. His customers are saying a lot of positive things to him. And his operator response time is excellent at 2 minutes. Again, we might want to drill into Shri, hey, it seems like you've had more frequent negative messages lately. Let's try to better understand what those messages are and how I can help you as your supervisor.
This is fantastic, Jackie. So Mark, having been a claims leader in a prior life, can you talk about the sort of the value you're seeing of these insights, towards critical inputs into performance assessment and coaching processes, kind of anything you would like to add here?
Absolutely, Allison. So this is just so fantastic. And it's got me going, wow, I wish we would have had some of this stuff decades ago, but it didn't exist, right? So when I look back over the course of a career, early in my career, it was pretty clear that claims, the philosophical approach was claims used to be thought of as somewhat of an afterthought for some carriers, right? A bottom line expense item rather than a potentially strategic advantage. Now we're creating strategic advantage through tools like this. Just kind of, I'm looking at this and there's so many scenarios spinning through my head as a claim supervisor, and some of the things that I used to experience, this is so critically important because it provides so many metrics that it knits it together in a way that it almost intuitively leads supervisors, what I would say, closer to root cause, not necessarily get them to root cause, but help them understand what questions they need to ask. I'll give you a simple scenario. Let's say, for example, we look and we say, you know what, our opt-in rate is very high. Our contact times are fantastic, but we have a lot of negative sentiment around response times. The supervisor scratching his head going, well, wait a minute. All the numbers are good. Why are we getting all this? Gee, I haven't heard from the shop. I haven't heard from you. I haven't heard from that. The issue might not be response times. The issue is probably going more toward process explanation, setting the correct expectations, setting expectations that set the adjusters up to win rather than fail, right, for customers. So I think it's amazing that we have tools now that supervisors can jump in, correct course on a case-by-case basis, but also in aggregate start looking at results and start understanding under the hood what might be driving that, and what are actual symptoms versus what are actual issues that really need to be dealt with. So hats off, kudos to our product team, and Lori, to ACG for being an incredible partner in helping get this off the ground. And to all carriers out there that see claims as a strategic an operation of strategic importance. So I'm beside myself. I'm actually getting fired up because I'm looking at this stuff. I look at it every day and I just go like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Anyway, the passion is real. Trust me. That's all I got to say.
We love that you're so enthusiastic about it, Mark. So I'm gonna bring my screen back up. You know, now that we've kind of gone through the demo, thank you, Jackie, for walking us through the coaching capabilities from the adjuster lens, from the supervisor lens, really understanding the holistic value. You know, we want to talk about kind of key takeaways, like what do we really want folks watching to know and to realize, you know, the benefits of the coaching capabilities.
Yeah, I can speak to this a bit. You know, I was super excited to share with you those features within the Hi Marley tool. And, you know, we've spoken a lot about the stressful job and making sure we're making the lives of the adjusters and supervisors better. I think the thing I also want to tap into it is, I think it is an and. You can make their lives better, and by doing so, make them more productive, right? So it's not an either or. You don't have to choose in this case. By amplifying the voice of the customer, you're bringing them their attention to it. You're allowing them to make change, and also increasing that productivity. You know, one thing we did see as part of our alpha when we worked with our great customers is we did see 4 negative sentiment messages. There was a 20% improvement to adjuster response rate. And that just shows the power of that beacon, of that amplification, and bringing those messages to the adjuster's intent. And so, you know, we're data driven here at Hi Marley, and we want to make sure that we're providing the right level of data for the right persona within the Hi Marley application, making sure that we have sort of my insights for the adjuster, the My Teams dashboard that allows them to focus and understand and drill into their specific team need, as well as an admin dashboard that we have, you know, for all of our customers to review at the admin level. Making sure our data is actionable. Again, I think Persona really helped with that, so that you're not just given you know, a giant Excel to everyone and say, oh, you know, have fun finding the right insights there, like making sure we're focusing on what matters, you know, for that persona, and trying to amplify the voice of the customer with our message intelligence. And at the end of the day, I know I said this earlier, but and I think we can feel it with the energy here with Lori and Mark, like Hi Marley has this mission to be simple, lovable insurance. And I hope that that both sort of shows through for the carrier employees that we work with, as Lori spoke to, as well as for our end user on the policyholder side.
Well said. So before we move to our Q&A portion, I just want to give Mark or Lori, you know, the opportunity for any kind of final thoughts.
Allison, I had a thought in looking at all of the different opportunities we have to really look at that intersection of people, process, technology, and data. Hi Marley is really helping us understand our data and visualize it in a way where we can take action. And with respect to some of these beacons that you're having on this front page for the adjuster, when they log into Marley and they're looking at, okay, what messages do I need to potentially offer hypercare to, or a service recovery? And then that whole piece around opt-ins, we have been analyzing our data internally, and we can look at the differences in NPS or CSAT when we text with customers on their claims, when we offer the ability to text, but we don't text back. I call that an abandoned chat. And then if we don't text at all. Interestingly enough, our NPS is the best when we text with our customers. NPS is actually the worst when the customer opts to chat in and we're not proactively chatting back. One of the things very early when we were doing our pilot with Hi Marley was our best adjusters went in after the customer opted in and sent a very customer-centric, thank you for opting in, here's what we discussed, here are next steps in the process, feel free to reach out to me, I have access to my chats, and we have this new feature in Hi Marley where we can make sure that we're underscoring our office hours, and it's really helped with the additional level of insights for us as managers or even adjusters to understand what opportunities they have to enrich customer experience and reach out more proactively. So I've seen how the tool has evolved since we rolled it out in September of 2020. And it's just been a great experience partnering with Marley to improve communication. A happy claim is typically a claim where you know what's next is the customer, you're aware, we're proactively updating you, we're responding quickly if you have a question, or better yet, we're proactively providing you status and getting to closure in an efficient way. And Marley helps us do that. So I can personally speak for the fact that our underlying data fits with what is now at a very it's just very centric. When you log into Marley, you have all of these important beacons of things to look at to help you manage your day more proactively. And for us, it's been a game changer.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you, Lori. All right, and with that, we are going to move into our Q&A portion of today's presentation. So thank you to everyone that's been using the Q&A box to submit questions. As a reminder, that little icon is at the bottom of your screen. So if you have a question, feel free and input that now. So I'm going to open that and begin with the first. I'm just opening that chat box. So one of the first questions we received was if we can share the sources of the stats that Mark had on his first slide. The answer is absolutely yes. We did some extensive research and obtained that data from insurance industry sources that are in the public domain. So when we follow up post-webinar with the recording and our survey, we can definitely share those sources. Next question, maybe Jackie, you can take this one. Is there an ETA for messages to be filtered / sorted by the needs attention badge?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. One of the pieces of feedback that we got from our great alpha partners was making sure that we amplified the messages enough, right? So just adding a badge, if you have a ton of chat messages, that might get lost in the scroll. And so how do we make sure that we bring those messages to the top or give supervisors and adjusters the ability to filter? So I'm happy to say that with our last release, we were able to bring those messages up to the top. So now the inbox will be sorted, sort of needs attention at the top. And then messages that don't currently need your attention will sort of be below that, still sorted by, last time the message came in. And so the goal there being that supervisors and adjusters sort of see those needs of attention messages at the top of their inbox as they land there. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Lori, how did ACG approach organizational change management to improve adoption and expedited response?
So one of the key ways we did was participate in the alpha, really getting good feedback from our end user community on how this new feature could be very seamlessly rolled into our existing process. One of the things we like to do is when we have a change that intersects between how someone does their work and
Oh, might be having a Zoom technical glitch. Lori, can you hear us? This is what happens in the Zoom era, right? All right, well, as we're waiting for Lori to hopefully regain her internet connection, I just wanted to also address the question of what can I do next? How do I learn more about coaching capabilities? So if you are a current Hi Marley customer, you can reach out to your customer success manager. They can go kind of more in depth with you there. If you are not a current Hi Marley customer, you can go to our website. You can email us at hi@himarley.com. So Lori, it looks like you're back there. We lost you as you started to answer your question. No worries.
Oh, so I was saying that I demoed it at our Claim Senior leadership meeting so that we understood how innovation is impacting our capability to leverage data to really draw us into making sure the experience is lovable, that it's a frictionless experience. And if there is some type of friction, that we are demonstrating empathy, engagement, and we're engaging in a way to reduce the friction and right size that experience so that we are delivering on that critical moment of truth.
Thanks, Lori. We have another question that just came in. How are carriers with high opt-in percentages addressing low employee engagement?
So I can tell you what we've done. We take the Hi Marley data, and one of the components that we really like to look at are what are the total number of chats that you have. Then we basically join the Marley data with our HR data so we can create the hierarchy all the way down from our leadership team down to our supervisory team. So I have number of cracks with the bat. So total number of claims I was assigned, how many did I chat on, how many of those potential cases did I have opt-ins on? So we have opt-in ratios, and we're looking also at engagement. So how many chats am I proactively sending outgoing messages on? And then we're pairing it with our CSAT data. So we have data from multiple sources that we're joining, and it really, and we also have department level stats. So we can look at our leaning in our homeowner team, our total loss team, our auto physical damage desk adjusting team. So the report can be sorted. So we have it at a manager level. So there are many different kinds of data that you can look at to really determine, is your team member leaning in, and what coaching opportunities do you have to potentially look at, hey, your day could be a lot easier if you were offering texting. You'd have a lot less phone calls to return, and it would be a lot more seamless. And I don't think you can really argue with the data. Claims already taxed on average have higher NPS on versus claims where we do not text. So we're starting to socialize that as well, the WIFM for our adjusting community and our contact center community, and the WIFM for our customers. So there's a lot of different ways you can attack that.
Yeah, I love your reference to at bats, Lori. And I've heard it put, using kind of going with a baseball analogy. If you're a pitcher, you might be an all-star pitcher, but if it takes you 120 pitches to get through 8 innings to toss one hit ball, that's going to be a little stressful. Yeah, your customers might be pretty happy because you're throwing a one hitter through 8 innings, but you're grinding yourself into the ground doing it. Whereas you might have another pitcher that can throw 74 pitches and cruise through 8 innings because they're throwing a lot more strikes, right? They're hitting the strike zone a lot more. So that just totally resonates with me. And from my experience in claims leadership, it's never one thing, right? You've got to look at the existential factors that might be happening. Gee, a bunch of people left. We transferred a bunch of pending. There's a bunch of caption reports due on a bunch of files I didn't have yesterday. Maintaining my customer obligations, but boy, I'm throwing a lot of pitches and it's really getting painful. So supervisors that can take all that data that you talked about and then also walk around and ask great questions of their staff. I've heard it I've seen it in action, and I've heard it put systems thinking. I've seen operations where they actually didn't give the supervisor a desk or a computer, a desktop computer. The supervisor walked around with a pad all day, and their job was to understand the data, but walk around and manage each individual adjuster according to their needs and spend that time during the day, reduce the number of pitches that the adjusters are throwing. So you were right on point with that. And I love your perspective on that.
And I love hearing how you take the Hi Marley data and sort of how you run with that. I think one of the things, our goals with the sort of multiple levels of personas is giving the right persona the right data. So, the adjuster, when they land on the My Insights page, they can see, cases that have been opted in that they haven't yet engaged in. And there's an immediate call to action to engage in those. And then same thing at supervisor level, making sure that it's really clear and transparent about, which of your adjusters has engaged in conversations, what are the cases that need engagement, and sort of how can you coach and mentor to get them to jump in on those conversations.
All right, next question. In what way do you think Hi Marley will expand? What are some added features you're planning to explore and possibly add later? Jackie, do you want to maybe speak to this one?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this. I often think about this evolution of coaching and what that could look like. And I do think there's sort of 3 steps to that. The first step is sort of reactive. How do we learn from the past? How do we learn from what's already happened? And I think that our insights dashboards across all personas really help enable us to learn from data that's already happened, from conversations that have already happened, so that we can improve for tomorrow. The next layer is sort of these message intelligence insights, or real time. How do we help adjusters in that moment change their response, change their behavior to improve the experience? I think as we think about what's next for coaching, it's how do we be proactive to help get ahead? How do we help adjusters get ahead and sort of impact and change the conversation arc, so that we can say, even primers like, hey, this person hasn't been provided an update yet. We've found based on our data that, providing an update once a week can really help that. And our goal is really, how do we take the great data that we have from the past to create models to help adjusters in the future to get ahead of those. Right now, we're detecting when a customer is frustrated. How do we minimize frustration points for the future? And so that's definitely sort of our goal as we think about this journey that we're on. I think all 3 layers, reactive, real-time, and proactive, are important to really fully understand the data story. But I do think that that's sort of the step-in layers we're able to take in the future.
All right, just looking at the next question. Someone asks, I love the idea of the new My Dashboard for the individual contributor. However, it's not customizable by organization at the time. Any thoughts on changing this? Jackie, I know you had talked about the different types of dashboards for individuals, for supervisors at the organizational level. So maybe just some more clarity around that.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this. One of the things we've done is we've introduced a few different layers of personas, right? So we had sort of this organizational dashboard. Now we've added, a dashboard for the supervisor persona. We've added a dashboard for the adjuster itself. And one of the things that, we've talked about a little bit is our process from a product perspective, and how we are always trying to listen to our customers to understand pain points, understand sort of how they're leveraging the data we have, how we can change and evolve that over time. And so, I guess the thing I want to say is we're always listening, making sure that that data is customizable, getting feedback on what is valuable in that dashboard, and what sort of additional data would help sort of drive change in an organization is something that we're always working with our carriers for. And so, I guess more to come. We're continuously evaluating our dashboards, continually adding and iterating to enhance them, and sort of any and all feedback we get from carriers, prospects, or current clients is always welcome.
Thank you, Jackie. Well, it looks like that's all the questions that we've received in the Q&A box, unless anyone else is putting in some last minute ideas there. While we just wait one more minute to see if any questions filter through, I am going to share a survey link in the chat in just one moment. We kindly ask and encourage if all attendees could fill out the survey questions. It should only take a couple of minutes. This just helps us ensure that we at Hi Marley are delivering webinar content that's resonating with you, making sure we're hitting on the topics that you want to hear about. So I'm sending that link in the chat right now. Thank you.
Hey, Allison.
Yeah.
It's Mark, did we get to that question? Sorry, I might be slipping. Did we get to the question, is there a suggested time frame to close a chat, and does it affect the overall rating? If so, great. If not, I can kind of talk to that for just a minute.
I think I did miss that one. So if you want to talk
Yeah,
to it.
absolutely. You know, it's kind of, that's a really interesting, I love that question because I guess it was 30 to 60 days ago, I actually did a little study where I reviewed all 3 and 4 star ratings, survey ratings, and kind of thought, what kept these results from being 5-star customer ratings? And one of the biggest, or the biggest single reason, was unresolved claim issues. So the claims adjuster went to close the chat, wanted to close the claim. I'm guessing the payment went out, this happened or that happened, but the customer came back and said, wait a minute, my car's going to be in the shop for another 3 days. This is going to happen. I need to extend the rental, whatever. I need to get some stuff out of my car. It was totaled. So there was a disconnect between what the adjuster thought was a closed claim and what the customer thought was all issues resolved. And so when you can bring those two together and close that gap, I think therein lies your answer in terms of once you're pretty sure that all outstanding potential claim issues are resolved, customers happy, and there are templates you can use within Hi Marley to kind of get to that place where you really understand whether or not all the issues are resolved, message templates. And then I'd say it's safe to close the chat. And we looked at these, and there were so many of these where the issues were unresolved. It was clear that the customer is very happy with the adjuster, the empathetic approach, everything, except for the fact that there was that little bit of disconnect on unresolved issues. Had those been resolved, those would have been 5-star experiences.
Yeah, Mark, I can comment to that. I know in the beta, when we looked at it, when you responded to the chat, the badge level icon disappeared, and we gave some feedback that we want to see how our team is responding in real time and what that gap in time is, and was the recovery very customer centric. And what's cool about the new tool is that you see that the issue's been addressed. The badge is no longer yellow, it's gray, but you can go in and look and see that experience and give coaching and ideas, and maybe it's accolades for how well and empathetically we responded. So we really do like the capability to see the history. If there was negativity, potential negativity detected on the chat, how did we respond to make the recovery? And that's, I think, really helpful for our management team from a coaching perspective, from even a rewards perspective. And we're seeing in many instances that faster recovery, to your point, Mark, can still not attrit the experience, but it's all about how fast we can get in and take action. So, we really like that we have that transparency.
All right, we are just at 1 minute. We did get one final question. Any thoughts on multi-use or catastrophe-specific texting? I know we're low on time. Does anyone want to speak to that quickly before we wrap?
So I know that we've looked at the Marley outreach feature. So if we had an event, I think we have Marley implemented for claims. So where we would need to collaborate with our insurance team to give us all of the policies. So if we had an event, we're telling our team to our members to protect their property. I think there's just some more heavy lifting, but I think it's a great opportunity to be member centric and be customer centric. And there's a lot of use cases you could apply in that CAT world. And certainly something that I see Hi Marley continuing to ideate around, which is really exciting.
Absolutely, Lori, as we continue to become more of an ecosystem collaboration player, right? Which we were on that journey, and bringing multiple parties into the conversation, whether it's a field rep, whether it's somebody back at headquarters who's monitoring CAT claims, whatever it might be. That's absolutely the direction we're heading, and a lot more to come there. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I
Sorry,
would
Jo-
just, I would just echo Lori's point about our outreach feature. The goal of our outreach feature would be to be able to reach out proactively to those policyholders in the case of a CAT event. You know, maybe a message that says, we know there was a, tornado in your area, please reach out to us. If you have a claim that you need. And it's really that reach out, that bridge that can create a lovable experience, make it easy to understand what the right next step is for that policyholder if they do have an issue.
Great. Well, and I want to thank all of our lovely speakers today again for being with us today. Mark, Jackie, and Lori, thank you so much for being our guest speaker here. We really appreciate you and having you here and your time and helping us out. And thank you to all of our attendees. I think we got to all questions. If there are more questions, feel free to follow up. If you want to learn more about coaching, we are happy to talk in depth with any of you. There will be an email sent with this recording, with our post-webinar survey, with our sources from Mark's slide. And thank you all, and have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.